And so like anyone can be a kind of order, but it was the one, so it's after writing.
Anyone can memorize
like once you kind of like write
Yeah.
something down that you've inspired to write, it kind of kills it, and it can be repeated, but it's not the same thing as the original kind of inspiration.
That's fair.
And she's touching on that Platonic element of a muse, and
Yeah.
she was really into this concept of the middle voice, grace, even the idea that our nature is perfected in grace. And Greek has a middle voice. Like I think like there's one Scandinavian language that has it right now. I could again, but we don't have a middle voice anymore. We have active and passive. Either I'm doing something to something or it's coming upon me. So if you think of language that way, either I'm just merely articulating it and it's just coming purely from subjective, or it's an objective language where I'm just simply mirroring what I see in representation out there.
What would middle voice do?
It would be somewhere in the
middle
where like when I'm actually articulating this thing, it is a kind of inspired utterance that moves beyond the object. And so this concept of polarity in Barfield that he gets from Coleridge, who we haven't talked about, he's obsessed with this idea of polarity, this tension between subject and object. It comes from the act potency distinction that we talked about earlier, which I think if Barfield would have seen that, it would have clicked for him. But anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, as you were talking about the difference between something written down and something inspired, as we describe it, I think about a music concert versus a recording.
Okay.
And 3 years ago, Coldplay came to Seattle, and we went to the concert and took her. And when the first note of that song hit, she began to weep. And I mean, I'm getting emotional thinking of seeing her in that space, because it was like so many times she had heard this replication of it, but she was experiencing the reality of it, and it was overwhelming. And I don't know, I feel like that's kind of what we're talking about as we describe these experiences.
Yeah,
in
it's
language.
like a duplicate versus like the real thing. And again, a sign is good because it, these are the writing becomes a sign, or the song, the recording becomes a sign of these. But then in reality, that's a great example of a concert. It's just they're actually there and they're actually singing in real time. And I think that's very at the heart of what this is about. Yeah.